You probably think today's going to be a real downer. Here we are talking about death. Yeah, it can be a downer, but it's also be a celebration of life. And I'm so excited to share the message about paganism and the season of Samhain with you today. Last week, many of you probably celebrated the secular holiday of Halloween. You know, trick-or-treating, carving pumpkins. Some of the fun that we have at Halloween can be traced back to Irish and Scottish folklore hundreds of years ago. In fact, bonfires actually go back over 2,000 years. When you hear the word pagan, what do you think of? Witches stirring a cauldron, women dancing naked in the forest. Perhaps you think of Harry Potter or Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Thanks to Hollywood twisting the truth again, you may even think of Satan. But most pagans do not even believe in a devil or hell, and Druids definitely do not work with the devil. When I was a teenager, I was drawn to books about ancient history, places like Stonehenge and Machu Picchu and Egypt. They completely captivated my attention. And I loved old movies too. And I always felt a kinship with the witches and the druids that appeared in these old movies. I found myself drawn to a path of paganism. Now, I didn't know I was a pagan at 12 years old. I used to lay on the front lawn every night and gaze up at the moon and talk to the stars. I didn't know I was a pagan when I started referring to the forest as my church. My spiritual identity as a druid would come much later. See, Druidry is just one of the more than 50 varieties of paganism. In ancient times, a druid was many things. They were a wise elder, a teacher, a historian, lawkeeper, healer, storyteller, astronomer, an oracle, and a priest. Oh boy, that's a lot to learn. It took them over 20 years. And they were both men and women. Now, modern druids, they still practice many of these skills. I know I try. But we only model our spirituality as druids after the ancient ones. Paganism was where I first learned all life is sacred, just like our first principle. Funny how I ended up here. Druidry never asked me to worship any specific deity. Instead, it encouraged me to dig my hands deep into the work. It encouraged me to set myself forth on a path of helping other people, because in Druidry, it is the direct personal experience which is the greatest teacher. Books can provide a spiritual direction, but it's the journey which provides the greatest reward. And like the tall oak trees that we see outside now, dropping their leaves and changing colors, getting ready for the winter, the journey is always growing, expanding, changing, and reaching new heights. This growing, changing face of Druidry is what I want to share with you today. This practice that honors nature and lives in accordance with the seasonal cycles. This Druidry which draws inspiration from mythology and transforms that into beautiful art and music, yet relies on academic sciences to inform our practices. This Druidry also honors our ancestors and strives to build on the deeds and vision which they passed on. For many centuries, witches were persecuted. You may be familiar with the Inquisition. It originated in the 12th century and lasted over 600 years. It was designed to eliminate all the heretics who didn't agree with the Catholic Church. The accusation of witchcraft became a very convenient way to eliminate, for politicians to eliminate their competition and for landowners to grab more land. Many, many innocent people who had nothing to do with witchcraft were executed. And here we are in the 21st century. Not much has changed, has it? People still in fear of ideas and people and anyone and anything that might challenge their ignorance. This time each year, many pagans choose to honor those witches who were executed during the Inquisition. Historians estimate that Samhain has been around since 1450 BC. And that's based on archaeological evidence in Ireland. In the 7th century, Christian rulers instituted All Saints' Day. You may have heard of that one. It's still on the calendar, 1st of November. As was common of Christian colonizing forces back then, they believed they could stop the older pagan religion by building churches on pagan holy sites and installing their holidays over the days when pagans were celebrating their traditions. The pre-Christian Celts also followed a different calendar. So when these forces came in, they brought with them the Roman Catholic calendar, which changed previous dates by up to 10 days. I kind of like the idea of celebrating my birthday 10 days early. But historians believe that the original Samhain may have occurred on November 5th, 6th, or 7th. And because All Saints' Day was on the 1st of November and it was a holy day, then the evening before that was considered All Hallows' Eve, Halloween. As a pagan, this year is both a time of sadness and gratitude, a time when we become intimately aware of all who are not here with us. As I stand here before you and I look around the sanctuary, we do not come from some tabula rasa. There is no blank slate. We are the progeny of our ancestors of tradition, of culture, as well as kinship. We are continually influenced by those who laid a path for us, regardless of whether or not we walk their path. Isaac Newton once wrote, "If we can see further today, it is because we stand on the shoulders of giants." How does that apply to us as UUs? Because of the sacrifices and ambitions of people who came before us, we are now able to build on their foundations. We can envision a world which is more just, equitable, and peaceful. Just as our ancestors of Unitarian Universalism have blazed a trail forward, so now we become the ancestors to future generations, our children, paving a road toward their ideals. When we live our lives through a lens of gratitude, it connects us more deeply to the gifts of others around us, both the living and the deceased. A perspective of gratitude can connect us to the earth and to nature, opening ourselves to both opportunities and possibilities. So often we surround ourselves with cement jungles and steel structures that man made, enveloped in some cloak of disconnection from the living temple of nature, comforting ourselves with electronic devices and clinging to dreams that are created on TV screens. Druidry calls us back to connect with our sacred landscape, where nature is the authority and it preserves time in an unending wheel of seasons. From the words of Philip Carr-Gomm in his book, The Druid Renaissance, and if you're curious, he's the leader or was the leader of one of the largest Druid organizations, he shares that Druidry has been the perfect lover. Don't we all want a religion that seems like a lover? creates passion. Druidry will lead us to the magic of the stars, the changing of seasons, and dare you to run wild. She will lead you to ancient groves of trees, past shimmering brooks, and captivate your attention with stories of great battles between supernatural beings. She will lead you to hope, because at its core, Druidry is about hope. Hope for a table full of food. Hope for a field full of grain. And hope for peace between all peoples. Druidry will heal you, empower you, and transform you, and leave you hungry for authenticity in what you believe. And once you feel connected, when you're really part of the web and the universe, she will show you the evils of men that harm nature, that start wars, that destroy the faith and trust in each other. And knowing it can be different, Druidry will break your heart. I have lost so many people who have made an impact in my life. Family members, friends, people I looked up to. The gifts of our ancestors, the gifts of loved ones are blessings. Blessings flowing through our lives if we are open to them. So on this day of Old Halloween, I wish you all a blessed Samhain. May the blessings of those who have left us forever flow in your veins and awaken your soul. And I will leave you with one Druid prayer, something I learned a long time ago. Grant, O Spirit of inspiration, thy protection, and in protection strength, and in strength understanding, and in understanding knowledge, and in knowledge the knowledge of justice, and in the knowledge of justice the love of it, and in the love of it the love of all existences, and in that love the love of the great spirit of inspiration, however you define it, the love of the earth, our mother, and all goodness, wherever we may find it. Blessed be, and blessed Samhain.